if as much as possible, please be responsive. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our 11th session, synchronous session in information management. So I pretty much sure now that you have, I guess, at least now learned concepts about information management. And I'm also confident that you are also confident at writing SQL scripts. Now, in the first module, our transition is or was actually like we have just our discussions are all about or were all about the information management, what it takes to like the steps in getting our uh, in creating a database. Of course, we get it from or we'll have to conduct an interview and we'll have to gather uh, necessary requirements, and that is actually software requirement specifications. And also in module two, we focus on the SQL scripts in such a way that we are able to invoke commands and how we actually deal with our data. And of course, that's very important as a programmers in the making to actually know how to not only know and also understand how to invoke SQL scripts and how this data are actually managed uh, by people like us. Okay, and then in the week three, at least you're able to know how to establish connection into from our database to into a specific programming language. So of course, now I'm not gonna be expecting each one of you to really master this one. I mean, of course, application development is just a start of software engineering. Okay, so and like we only have like one or 2 hours, going to be spent for this session. So after this, at least you have the idea in such a way that you're enough for you to establish connection on your own, and we're going to perform CRUD, or create, retrieve, update, and delete. So this is our learning outcomes for today. Number one, we are going to have established database connection to VB.net using OOP approach. Of course, there are a lot of tutorials out there, and um, as I actually as I was scanning there in the through online, no, there were actually hundreds of tutorials in establishing connection in VB, especially like C Sharp, VB, ASP.NET, and uh, I've never seen any concrete or parang a walkthrough tutorial on the OOP approach. So what I'm going to teach you now is uh, OOP approach. That because again, what's the difference with with establishing connection? I mean, as a computer science and IS students, will have to know. I will have to always apply or implement object-oriented principles in our program because we don't like our program to suffer in the future. So that's number one outcome. And then number two, we're going to perform CROD. So CROD stands for create, retrieve, update, and delete. So these are basic operations in uh, database management systems. So the last one, which is delete, is not that um, I shall say that is not what do we call this one recommended, because we don't delete the data, because historical data are important to project and predict the the data in such a way we are able to have decision, and so that we're able to, of course, as a business, or if we're developing a software and information management, particularly that does transactional processing system, of course, we have to fetch those data, historical data, and we use this data to present our client that uh, this is the parang workflow of the data, like producing the sales, the inventory, the stocks, the and all such all sorts of like pertinent reports. And then at least we're able to finish one and two given the time that we are having right now. And for three, at least we if ever God will give us time more, we are going to also perform business as well to BB that time. Okay. So, but before I'll proceed with our discussions, I'm going to ask anybody from from this meeting, if so far, what are the things that you have learned in like module one? Those only that parang highlights, no, in module one and module two, and part of the module three. Anyone? Only the highlight of what you have learned. How about Ria Fuentes Gutierrez?
Sir, excuse, wait lang po kasi may inutos saglit.
I see. Okay, it's okay. Sige, let's move to Ria the second. Ria learned how to manage databases through performing SQL operations. It was sent in the chat. Okay, thank you for that, Riri. So, okay, how about si Tyrell? Tyrell, what are the highlights so far? The things that you have like you were really proud of that you learned all by yourself was through our discussions also. Oh, it's okay. It's okay, Ria. It's okay,
Ah,
Riri.
siguro sir mag-create ng ERDs.
Yes, ako, tama, no? Part actually, the focus of information management is actually creating ERDs. I'm gonna tell you this one. Uh, in the software development, actually 70% of it is actually comes with the planning, and most of the time we are going to spend in creating ERDs and how the data flow, the context flow diagram, and of course, producing or creating or building entity relationship diagram. Because there are, did you know that there's based on experience now, there is there are a bunch of resources you can look for. Like there are actually a lot of books there that teaches us how to create ERDs or draw ERD, but it's going to be the logic that really parang development of our logic that is really going to be the what is going to be counted on, especially if you're working with different people, people who are into business, people who are like us, and people who are in the middle, like which are these IS people, no? Kumbaga middle man na sila sa software development. Yes, SQL is only like 30, parang part na siya sa 30% of software development. Why? Because we can actually learn SQL and easily, and SQL are actually there, parang we can see so much tutorials. I mean, a lot of tutorials there sa online and also sa mga books. And it does not, though it also requires logical thinking, but it does not require much, no? Kasi I mean, may mga tutorials naman. But with ERDs kasi is it depends on the flow of your data. It depends on the requirements of your company, and you really have to understand the business process of the company so that you're able to create the ERD for them, not just the right ERD, but they are creating in a right way of building an ERD for them. So because again, it would be costly and also parang how do I say this? Costly at the same time if yung effort no if we're going to do so much effort if ever we are stuck on the ERD or something like we are in the ARD and then we proceed with SQL or something like app development or development and then you find out in the latter no that my problems will have with the ERD so cannot afford of like going back to the previous phases or like previous cycles. So of course you will experience that in the future, especially if you're part of the development team. If especially we do transactional processing systems na mga IS or software. Okay. All right. So how about si Janelle?
Hello po, sir.
Yes
I
po.
think highlights po, no?
Opo.
I've learned about the ERDs po, sir, and then on how to manipulate the databases and create new databases, creating backups and all po using my SQL and SAMP po.
All right. Okay, thank you. So thank you, Janelle, no, for that for the sharing or for your insights. Okay, so I'm not gonna be going to give much of your time. I mean, get much of your time rather in asking you. Of course, you have learned uh, a lot, I guess so, based on what you have shared in me last year, no. So this time we're going to proceed with our discussion or proper discussion. So as I've told you, these are our learning outcomes. And again, if you are going to have like questions whenever I'm in the middle of my discussion, you can interrupt me. And by the way, I choose the language VB.NET because this one is the easiest one. For me, this one is the easiest one, especially in building uh, transactional processing systems. No, rapid development application kasi siya like all others, like though of course in your what you call this one in your project, you can have any programming language. Pwedeng Java, pwedeng I have also prepared Java, by the way. You can have your PHP or Python or C Sharp. Any will do. But of course, I'm going to choose one that is at least no, we can easily adapt the language. Okay? Sige. So these are the tools that we are going to be needing in performing road, now create, retrieve, update, and delete. So we're gonna be needing as, of course, a programming language. Okay, and it will be best if that programming language offers graphical user interface. Okay, so we're gonna be using .NET Framework and particularly Visual Studio, and we're gonna be using Visual Basic programming language. Okay, and then after that, we are going to be also needing our database server, which is as of this time, we're gonna be, since we have been using MySQL, so of course we are going to use that one. And in terms of uh, the admin or the administration, we're gonna be using XAMPP. You can use either WAMP, SQL Yoke, or any other administration software for SQL. There are actually a lot. And of course, we also need SQL connector. So this SQL connector is, since my SQL is a it's not a parang it's not part of the .NET framework. That day it was used to be part, but this time it's the new versions of the .NET framework now, it has been taken away from there. So it's now a third-party software, and since MySQL is an uh, open source software platform, and the Visual Studio is actually proprietary now under Microsoft. So we'll need to have a software, a third-party software that bridges the two, that connects the two programs or applications. So that's why we need SQL connector. But if ever we are using MS SQL or Microsoft Access as our server, of course, we don't need any MySQL connector. Okay, so that's why I choose also MySQL connector, because you can use this in many programming language you will be encountering in the future, like PHP or Python or Java. So something like that. This uh, as easier for you to learn and adapt the platform or the software. Okay, so in I have I hope so now, because in MS Teams I have actually put there the link in how to set up my MS Visual Studio, and what are the things you will be needing. So andun sa andun sa MS Teams natin. So I hope you are able to do that beforehand, but if not, it's okay. This time, so assuming we have here, so these are the things that we will be needing. Number one, the Visual Basic .NET. So this is the interface of Visual Studio. And in senior high school, this was, I guess, taught, no? So for some of you, if ever man, so there are actually others, parang schools, no, that this specific language is taught during senior high school. Yeah, so because this one is a little bit easy compared to the others. Okay, this is this one. So then we are also going to be needing exam, this one. Okay, so the setup na yan. And then, what else? There. So once you have installed all of this, and also this Visual Studio, you can choose the language, whether you use C#, VB.NET, ASP.NET. You can also create Visual C++ here, or Python. So pwede rin, because again, I am sure you have been using Visual Studio. That's still under Microsoft Corporation. Okay, so I have already created a UI for 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 the intention of our learning outcomes today, and we're going to connect this database that we have right here. We're going to select any from here, and then let's populate it from here. Okay, so this is just simple UI. Honestly, I'm not really good at UI, so this is the list that I can do. Okay, although of course you can, because sky is the limit in terms of sa pagiging artist for developing UI UX. So I'll be leaving that to you. Okay, so this is the database that we are going to connect. So we'll have DB sample. So let's look into its structure. So we have here at this one. Okay, this one, DB sample. So we have two tables here, TBL person and TBL country. Obviously, the relationship between the two is that person lives in a country, and a country where the person lives. No? So how is that? Like one or many person lives in one country, something like that. So if let's see, it's ERD there here in the designer. So this is just a simple relationship. So we have binary relationship between these two tables. So we have the person ID, person name, gender, age, and country ID. And then we have here country ID and country name. And then, of course, I mean, as you can see, the TBL country is where we store our country, and we connect it to our TBL person. So, of course, you know the stages of normalization. So, gender is uh, it's not I mean, we don't separate the gender for now. We're going to focus on the country. Okay, so if we're going to look into the records, so we have here the records that says 1 Philippines, 2 China, 3 Canada, and 4 USA. And with, in the person, we have here only 2 records, Arya Stark and Cardo. No? Okay, and its country. So Arya Stark lives in, supposed to be dapat in British when then is Arya Stark. No, anyway, so this is like Arya Stark lives in Canada and Cardo lives in Philippines. Okay, so this time we're going to connect this what they call this one, this the database in our application in program rather. So there are actually parang lot of processes or parang ways rather on how to do it. You can actually directly connect it here. Okay? But the problem with connecting each and every form or putting our database connection here in each and every form, that is that is what we call fancy codes, no, or spaghetti codes. So we don't like that, especially because we are ISP form. So that's why going to teach you now the object-oriented approach in creating or performing fraud, no, creative update and delete. So first thing you will do is this one is what I have shared to you, where the connector or MySQL connector, I provided the URL where you can download it. Okay, so just type MySQL connector, download, and automatically you can download MySQL connector, whatever version. Okay, but make sure compatible siya with the PL or with the version of your VP. So to start, before you start, you have to make sure that the what they call this one, that connector is installed. So by the way, you can install that MySQL connector, or you can actually add directly the DLL. Okay, so this is the application details that we are using right now. So this is the framework. So currently, we are using 4.5 framework for our .NET, and then our startup form rather is subnet form person, not form one. So, but what we are going to do here is we'll go to references. So since this is an external application or external parang entity of in Visual Basic, so we'll have to add it to this one. So the only thing that we are going to add actually is this one, mysql.data.dll. Actually, once you installed it, automatically you will see this mysql.data, pero you'll need to add it muna. Okay, because after you install it, you will see it here in the here. You can actually type mysql.data. So since I have it installed one, therefore I cannot actually see it here. But I have the DLL. Okay, so all I just need to do is browse it. So this is the application that I mean the URL that I have shared to you in MSTeam appsdev.bb.net. Excuse me. So there is there is an instruction, a text file instruction here, wherein it's going to walk through you what to do. So this is the application. Of course, we don't need that. So in the MySQL connector, you just have to look for MySQL data.dll. And then once you add this one, so just click and or tick this one as a reference. It will be added now to your references. So you can see it here, the version, and then make sure it is true. So by the way, pwede din mo na siya diri set up either setting it as like true. This would mean that whenever you deploy your application in different device, this will be carried. Kung naka-false siya, otherwise, then it's not being carried. It will stay there in the source file or source directory. So you will need to make this as true. How? Just have to go here, copy local, and then true. So otherwise, false deletion. Especially if we are going to make this as an exe file, installable na siya na application. Okay. Now, right after that one, you will need to save, and you're done. Okay. So actually, I have provided a video tutorial on this. Fast forward lang siya na video tutorial. It's uploaded in our video Ultra if you want to go through that. Okay. So this time, of course, we don't do establishing connection in the form here because again, if you're going to do that every after form, you have to do it. So what we are going to do is we either create a module or create a class, and that's actually what we do or what we do in software development or app development, especially pag transactional processing system. So this time, you all just need to do is click here and then subscribe. Joke lang. So click here, add, and then after that one, you just have to look. By the way, you can add new item, you can add new form here. Not only form, but you can add modules from external from external project. Like if you have been doing several projects, you can actually add existing form here, especially if it's related or parang relative lang sila or pwede sila na makopy lang. Okay, but what I will need you to do now is either select class or module. Of course, you know what's the behavior of a class because you have already your OOP finished, right? So of course the class is a template of creating an object. And the problem lang with the class here in VB.NET and same with Java, of course, as we are really we have to do is we have to create objects. Although that is not bad naman. Okay. So, but this time I'm going to be teaching you module. Although if from class siya or naka-class ka, ang difference ng Manila is that every now and then you will create object. But with the module, it's globally declared. So every component, every method or function belongs to it can be called globally and without instantiating an object. So we're going to be choosing a module, of course. So this time, click module, and then after that one, you can name your module, either person, whatever module you want to. So by the way, in programming or software development, we are tasked to create our module, or you will be designated with a particular module. So that's something in advantage of OOP because we can do it synchronously. Either we came from different part of the world, no? Pwede mag-create module simultaneously as a team. Okay? So like if you are like in enrollment module, then the other one is assessment module, the other one is adding of subject module. So we can actually create module on our own. So this time we'll create like person module. Okay. So you just have to click add and then allow me to add the text. Yeah. So can you see it? Hello, can you see it, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Sige. So this time we're going to imports. So imports MySQL. By the way, so as I've told you, ito yung Microsoft is default siyempre part. It is Visual Studio is under Microsoft Corporation. So whenever you use MS SQL or Microsoft Access as your database server, automatically, I mean, you don't have to install. So itong MySQL, this is the reference or the component that we have just added recently. Okay, so let's choose MySQL, then data, and then MySQL client. So we are the MySQL client, and the MySQL client class is or can be found under MySQL data library. Okay, so this next is we are now going to create properties or property of the person. So as I've told you in the PowerPoint, we're going to be needing, So these are the following objects that we are going to be to include in our application or in order for us to do or process query or SQL in VB.NET. And this is most common to any language, by the way. The good thing about this one is if you're in Python, if you're in Java, this is the same thing you will do. Okay? Yeah, connection, container, and then the bridge that connects our database and the query, and of course the command. So, ayan. So now, of course, connection is in order for us to establish the connection. And then the container is this is going to be our this is where our parang we used to invoke, it is used to invoke query. Okay. And then the bridge is to connect our container and our command in such a way that it will be processed properly. Okay. So first is we're going to so in OOP, especially if you do encapsulation, we always make sure that the property of our class, especially pag data member siya, it should be in private. But you have the option either to make it as public, okay? But mine is, I will define it as private. Excuse me. Okay. So first is the MySQL connection. So let's have here SQL con. So this is just an object. And then as MySQL connection. So this time you are creating or it's you're not instantiating an object, but you're declaring an object of MySQL connection. So meaning SQL con now will be an object of this MySQL connection class. Okay. As we are going to declare another object which is command. So SQL command, and then as MySQL command. Okay, and then we are going to have the bridge. So let's name it as data adapter. So MySQL data adapter there. And you can use data reader, but with the data reader kasi you're going to be needing loops. So okay naman, no? May problema na. But there is actually this year one, actually, which is we're gonna be using data table. Okay, so let's have here private DT as data table. Okay, so we're already set with or based sa ito ang ano, just we have the connection, the container, the bridge, and the so again, this is used to establish connection. This is used to invoke, no? What we call this one, when we want to invoke our query and command and we do retrieval, and then this is the bridge connection of between our data and the database or the connection or connector in our database. And this is the data table. This is what we are going to put So in order for us to populate our records into right here, where this one, okay? Sige. So I'll go back now to person module. Okay, I'll start with also mag-create pala of string connection. So let's have here strcon. So by the way, whether what language you are going to use, this is still the same. The same pa rin sila. Imports in this, and then you will be needing this one. Okay, so okay. Then our server is for now, since we have been using localhost as our server, so we will do that. And since our database that we are going to access is located actually there, so we're going to use localhost. And then user ID is root. Remember when we do mysql-u root-b, yeah. So when you want to put a password for PWD, or you can actually spell it out, password for PWD, and then if you have a password, then you can proceed with. Pero if you don't have any password set, then you can actually proceed with database. And then this time, let's go to our local host. So let's have here db sample. Okay, so we have here db underscore by underscore and underscore sample. All right. So we have already the string connection. So this is what we are going to use in order for us to establish the connection. So now let's create a function member or a method member of this module. So let's have a public sub db, let's say connection. You can have your any name. By the way, in the software engineering or software development, usually pag module siya, this is by practice, pag module siya, we put underscore. Okay? Para whenever you call underscore, all of your methods are under a particular module. So that's a naming convention, especially if you're working in a team. So depende, of course, nasa project management manager ninyo, no? Or depende sa inyo na follow. But usually, we put underscore, especially if it is a module. Okay. So this is now the function, or shall we say method. Okay. Now, we can put try and catch. So of course, familiar try and catch. The same with Java, it will throw away all the possible errors. So, and then we're able to actually manage and process the error. If you don't want to put try and catch, it's okay. Kaya lang, syempre, when your project or application is live, make sure lang that you have the necessary prompt telling the user that there is a problem. Make sure that it is not going to go in the console part in which I say it's an abnormal termination. So at least rather, pag try and catch, suppress niya, it will suppress the application from stopping, from going to its abnormal termination. Okay, so we do try and catch. Okay. And let's have here DB connection. So first is our DB connection, or sorry, SQL connection. So SQL con equals new. So this is now instantiating of object now. So my SQL connection, and then you have here, let's say str con. So the string connection, you can copy paste this one if you don't want to declare strcon there. But again, it will be parang na siya, messy na siya pag-create. So we put it there, and then we use the strcon instead. By the way, if you guys want to, you can actually do this one. Just instantiate it, and then after that, you do this one. SQL con that connection string equals strcon. So either of the two, depending on what do you like or what do you prefer. So, but I mean, As for myself, I prefer instantiating like this. Nana siya sa constructor, nako siya ibutan. Okay, so now after this one, we're going to, so this is so important, no, in establishing connection, or if you want to make access of your database, make sure to open it and close it. Now, just like sa idea ni Java, na when you do text file or when you do file handling management, you have to open and close it. Okay, so the same with our database na concept, because it actually took the idea from there. We have to open our database. I will have to, every time you open our database, make sure to close it to prevent, it's a safety precaution, no, to prevent possible intrusions of data. So as a programmer, dapat mag-open and close yuta. Ano? So when we open, we close. Okay? Open, and then SQL command, or sorry, on that. So yan, safety na naimbang. At least safety na medyo safe, medyo safer na siya. Pero dili gyapon. It could still be parang ma-victimize gyapon na siya of SQL injections. Kasi para dili siya ma-victimize of SQL injections, we'll need to do transactions. Advanced database administration po siya. Karon simple lang ang pattern. Okay, so usually what we did, or what I actually did based on experience, is since we know the idea of try and catch finally, and this is actually the same thing in Python, Java, or even in PHP, or even in C#. So no matter how many catch block you have in your try and catch, no? So you can have as much as catch here, but when it is okay, finally is always executed. When it is when a certain catch is executed, still finally will be executed. So parang no matter how many people or how many people are there for you, finally it's like your mother or your parents that's always there for you. So parang inanaya behavior. So I usually put SQL connection that close there in the finally. Kasi in layman's term, if you are going to, if okay mo hang query or imong instruction or imong code, okay, then finally will be executed. So, close yapon siya. If there is an error here, particularly here at this specific line, there is a catch block here. So whenever that catch block is executed, before it will end, it has to guarantee that finally will be executed. So i-execute yun niya ang con that close. Because as I told you, it's very important for a database to be closed properly. Okay, and this is how you close your database properly. Okay, so you can use the traditional prompting of message like message box, or you can use message box that show. So let's try. Let's use message box that show na lang ng new pina.net na dyan na framework. So test connection successful. Okay. So I guess we're done. Let's call this connection successful. If ever the connection is not successful, then let's put it here in the exception. Let's put here test connection failed, and let's concatenate the reason why it's failing, or why it's actually failed. So ex that message. So, duha na siya ka either you use toString, medyo medyo essay siya, no? Ang message kay mas shorter siya sa toString. So ako in my case, I use toString pag console. Pag prompt I use message para dili kay siya overwhelming kung ang user will see a lot of, especially they don't have the idea of whatever we put there sa to program. As much as possible, what they can only see is only those that are understandable to them, parang relatable to them. Okay, so yeah, so I usually put AX that message if prompt. But if you guys want to know the error, particularly, you can use ex.toString and put it in the console that right. Okay, you can have console that right. Yeah, I use that for what we call this one, tracing, particularly where the error came from. Okay, so let's go now to first FRM or form-person.db. By the way, in GUI or creating UI here in .NET, no? So we follow the first three steps. First is draw the UI user interface. Then second is attach property to control, which we do here. What's the name of this one? The name of this one. Parang it's how you want to call it, and then attach code to control. So ang attach code to control is anything if you are going to click any of this mga object, and then you put or you write procedures to it. So now, ang naming convention in naming our naming the components. I followed the idea of naming components from the computer human interaction, so that we're able to speak the same language. Pag mga text box kina, text field, whether unsa na language, we use txt as our prefix. So that's why in the property, the name of all of my fields under JText field should be txt. Now txt and what it will represent. So ID. So this one is txt name. And then this one is, since this one is combo box or a list box, so this will start with CBO as prefix, and then CBO that plus what it is loaded to para manage gender. So CBO gender, XTH, then CBO country, and the likes. And then for this one, either you use CMD or BTN. So CMD save or BTN save, CMD cancel or BTN cancel. And that's very important in software development because we have to have our own our meta language. We have to speak the same language as others will also understand us. Parang mas dali ang understand nato. Communication even without talking. Okay, because we have meta language. Okay, so now click anywhere in your form. So this is the parang main function. It's the form load. So duha ni siya, ang isa activated, ang isa form load. So actually two load yun sila, na ay constructor, na ay activator or activated, and form load. Ang una is constructor, sunod activated, and the third one to be called is form load. Pero as you can see, it's non-visible. The constructor and activated. We can only call it here. Now, so activated. Okay, pero this time we have here we are going to use form load. Okay, so that after that you can use call to call like db connection underscore db connection, or actually pwede na walang call. Okay, so it's up to you if you use call keyword, or you will use call keyword or not at all. So after that, we use underscore db connection and click start. So again, this is the same thing na idea in whatever programming language you will do. Okay, especially pag naka-module siya. Okay, so test connection successful, and it seems like we are good to go, and our connection has been established. Okay na siya. So just in case, wrong spelling let's say db samples. Mali lang type. Let's start. So there, what happened? Dapat failed. Or yeah, so there you are. Test connection failed. Test connection failed. Kasi the open should go first. Wait for a while. Okay. Start. So there, test connection failed, authentication to host, local host for user cannot be something like cannot be found. So walay db underscore samples in short. So that's what I told you earlier that if you are going to use toString, this is gonna be a lot. And you don't want your users, especially if they are non-technical users, to see it and to read all of it because it's really overwhelming to read those. So yeah, let's go back to samples. So that's it for establishing connection. That's the first learning outcome. Okay, question. Do you have questions, guys? VB.net is available po ba for Mac OS, sir? Hi, Ray. With that question, VB.net .NET or Visual Studio is available in Mac OS. Pero you cannot develop VB.net. But you can develop C#. C# and other programming language except for VB. Kasi VB will only run in Microsoft. That's the disadvantage, by the way. Thank you for raising that question. Do you follow? So, but you have Visual Studio in Mac OS. You can install it, only that you can use, you'll have to use C#, okay, but not VB.net. Yes, thank you. Hi, when is the deadline for all developers deliverable submits summative and formative next week po, right? Yes, next week and syempre may extension na until next week. By the way, with regards to that, there is no formative assessment for this week, no? Because it's part of the parang katong sa I guess a project requirement ninyo. So that's where you will apply na lang. Okay, that's why if you will see it in BP Ultra, there's no more formative assessment there, only resources. Okay, so I'm going to continue and let's talk about it later. Okay, so sure na, walay question? Okay, so this is easy lang actually. If ever na nahimo na nato ni siya, I'm going to share this one to you, and even if C# siya, actually, iputangan na lang nimo na siya. C# is like Java-like, ano? So, may C# na like ko. Anyway, putangan lang mo na, you just have to put this right here, open brace, curly brace, and close curly brace. And you can actually use this one. In fact, kasi siya, this can be applied to any language. Only that syntax will be changed. But since, again, since MySQL ta. Okay? So, of course, kaning mga message box, this will not work there sa PHP. You'll have to use echo. Okay? Or if you want to use interactive prompt, you use JavaScript. Okay, so this time we are going to do is i-display nato ang records from this database. From this record, i-display nato siya to here, okay, to our program. Right? Wait, what happened? All right, so how do we do that? So of course, we are going to go to our module, and this is what we will do. So public sub underscore, let's say display records. You can have any name, yeah. Again, mga iho, iha, you can have any name. So by val. So by the way, by val, by ref, I'm not gonna be expounding it. By val is actual value, by reference is by reference. So if you're like familiar with Java, no, primitive type versus reference type, that's something kasi na we don't We don't have in Python. I mean, kasi Python has dynamic, is dynamic typing. Okay, so Bible biref is difference between the two is that Bible is it stores the actual value. By reference, it's actually going to store memory address. Okay, and it's actually taking the idea of pointers, pointers in C language. Okay, so Bible, let's say SQL as string, and then val, let's say DG, which stands for data grid as data grid view. Okay, so, data grid. So enter, okay, and then you can have try and catch. Pwede wala, pwede na, it depends. Basta make sure lang before you deploy it, okay, naka-try and catch na siya. Kasi ang try and catch mo ni ang atong savior, especially pag abnormal termination or mga possible errors. Okay, we cannot get rid of possible errors in our program. So we'll have here, first is open again. Kaya nag-close naman ta sa ito ang database. So SQL connection dot open. Okay. And then we are going to close it and allow me to copy paste this one. So copy and then paste it in the finally. So finally there. Then I am going to copy paste this one. So by the way, mga technique lang siya. This is what I do even in other programming language. I use message box that show as my parang I usually do error, parang error for all, parang error signature. So this will have like, for an instance, if you have DB, let's say DB version 101. So this is test connection failed. So at least you will know which particular method or function you will go if ever magka-problem. So this is for error 101. We have here display methods. Error na lang. Error 1. This is 102. So at least na error signature ka. Okay, so we have opened our database and we already closed it. So this time we're going to instantiate another object. So this time we're going to be using DA, data adapters. DA is equal to new MySQL data adapter. So if familiar to sa Java, again, same sa instantiation. Okay, sa C#, Java, halos pareha. Python, PHP, pareha. Okay, so next is, ano po ta, DT is equal to new data table. Instantiate lang po siya. Alright, after that one, we're going to put here SQL and then the SQL connection. Okay, so it means that we are going to process any query, and where do you want to invoke it in the connection, in this SQL connection? Remember, the SQL connection established by our this program is this one. So it will be looking for DB sample and then make sure that the query or the table that you're using is or belong to that database. Okay, so right after that, you're going to fill. So it's easy. Okay, you just have to call the fill and then DT. So this would tell that our compiler that our data adapter is going to whatever the SQL after it is processed, it is stored to SQL data adapter. Okay, whatever is being read from there will be filled in the data table. And this data table is the bridge. I mean, the DA is the bridge between the data table and our SQL. So in order for us to display it in our data grid, actually not only in data grid, but you can anything here. But simply must this data grid is similar to this one. So data grid na to siya i-display. And let's go back here. So DT. And then after that, in order for us to display that in data grids, we'll just call it DG. So this one, the object of data grid view. So DG that data source is equal to D. Okay. And right after that one, we're done. Okay. So let's go to form person. What happens? Let's go to form person and let's call here display records. Yeah. So let's have here select. So this is where you will apply now your query, your knowledge and understanding about query. Okay. So select from TBL person. Okay. So then you will need another argument, so which is data grid. So the name of our data grid is DG person. So where do you get that DG person? This one, the name of this one. So meaning to say, the records or the data or the records that you have fetched from your database will be populated into your data grid in this particular PL. Okay, so that's actually the explanation of this one. And what is the query? Select from TPL person. So if you're going to run this one, okay, test connection successful, and there you are able to display your records. So again, if you do this like wala naka OOP, wala naka object-oriented programming, your codes here will really this block right here will have a lot of codes. So okay, let's go back to person. Actually, we can let's comment this one out. Test connection successful because we don't want that prompt in every time we run a program. We run our program. So select from TBL person. So just in case you want to call TBL country, so you can also display that. Okay, there the TBL country is displayed as easy as that. No, so that is the advantage of object-oriented programming, because if you don't do object-oriented programming, you will do this actually there. Now you will do this there in your form. Every now and then you want to display a certain table. So the good thing about this one is, since OOP tayo, you can call any database. Example, I'm going to call DB or DF, let's look into this DBMS pet. Tanaw na to if naatay DBMS pet. Yan. So DBMS pet, yan. I'm going to call this DBMS pet there in our program. So let's say DBMS pet. Of course, if I'm going to run this program, this would give me an error. Why? Because there's no such thing as TPL country in DBMS pet. Okay, the only thing that we have there is TPL pet. So we'll change this to TPL pet. Okay. So let's run this. There you are. You're able to display the records pet. See? So isn't it amazing? Isn't it surprising? So I'm just kidding. So how is that? And take note that before I will proceed with the next one. Actually, you can overload this one. OOP gapon, overloading, method overloading. I hope that's what you have learned in your OOP, no? Method overloading, method overriding, polymorphism, polymorphic at one module. So you can actually put something like do not include, particularly the database here. Okay, and then you'll just have to put here something like and let's say what is that? DB sample, yeah, some right? And then the overloading method will have here by val db name as string. So in this case, you have now two versions of DB connection. The first one is ang default tawagon niya as database is DB sample. While the other one is it's up to us, it's up to me, it's up to the programmer kung saan database niya ang tawagon. So the only thing you will need to do is strcon and equals to. Yeah, we already have equals there, so I guess we only need to have separator, or we don't need nothing. We just have to use db name. Oops. Concatenation. You can use this plus sign, but it would be better if you use ampersands right away. Okay. So, all right. What's the good thing about this invoke? The change that we invoke is that we have two DB connection now. You can actually call it here. Excuse me. So let me save that. It was not saved. So I have here DB connection. Wait. Connection, let's say DBMS web, or should I say DB payroll? So you can do that now. So this time you can either call this one. So what this will do is the default DB sample, but this one you are the one who set kung saan na database that you're going to call. Okay, but make sure na tama yung i-call the table na lang, no? So let's use that first one. So DBL person. Okay, so there. That's part of the learning outcome number 2. Okay, so question so far? Are you still there?
Yes po, sir. None
Okay.
from me po.
Okay, shall I proceed? I-proceed na nato, no? Para we will finish this one early. I know.
Yes po, sir.
Okay, because I know you have another errands to do. Okay, sige, let's proceed then. Let's go to first is this is what I before we'll proceed with CRUD operation, I will have to go visit our this one TPL sample. So you have here, if you try to look at it, our TPL person has reference value or data to country. Okay, and of course country is the source table, no, where really the meaning of the data. So ang problem lang with this one is how are we going to bind that in order for us to happen this one? Why it keeps on of course what we are going to display here is it the obviously of course the country name. Okay, so whenever we add and then you display the country name here, let's say Philippines, USA, Canada, Europe, and Italy, whatever, and then you click on save. Of course, that will not be processed. Okay, it will not be processed because if you try to look at it in your database, the required value that it must be stored there is ID because it is reference to country. Okay, so that is the ano lang, no? That is the how do I call it? Just challenge if we have really normalized our database. Okay, but with OOP, it would be easier because all you just need to do is copy this code right here, copy. Okay, and let's actually we are not going to overload it, but we are going to change it to something like load. It's up to you if what you will name it, date load to combo box. So if you have like a lot of, by the way, it's not only going to be this implemented in combo box, whether it's a list box, whether into anything, whether into any object, as long as it is a listing of value. Okay. So right here we have load to combo box, and we're going to, of course, change this into para let's say combo or CPO as combo box. This method is going to only process, although for by the list box, but this is intended for our combo box. So let's name this as error 103 load to combo. Okay, so right here, okay, and then what do we do after that is in the CPO, okay, we are going to do data source is equal to DP. Okay, so now, okay, that's the only thing we changed and part of the in the exception. And then right here, you will call y. What happened? Y1. So I haven't saved it. So, lang, no? Dapat i-save sa inyo siya. So, two box there. So it requires string. So let's see, we have select from DBL country and then CBO, let's say type. What's the CBO? CBO can, wait, what happened? Why this one is times? Let's say CBO country. Okay, so let's name it as CBO country. Let's go back here. CBO country. Okay, so now if you're going to run this one, this will give you this one. Now system that data, it's the actually the object, or yeah, that's the value of the data source. So what we can do for this one is we'll have to we are going to parang mag-disguise. Yeah, actually ang tawag nato is binding, data binding. So para mas masabtan, it's actually mag-disguise siya na ang i-display nato is the country name, but the one that is actually taking is the equivalent ID of that kasi naka-primary key siya with foreign key. So how do we do that? So we'll do that via what? So CBO dot, okay, value member. We have value member there. So DT dot columns. Ayan. So you can have here like pwede na siya country ID. Pero this will be binded to a certain table lang, which is TBL country. So we use array instead. So you don't do, it's up to you if you do this, but as for me, I'm going to use array idea. So as we all know, if you're going to visit our TBL country, so this is array 0, this is array 1 matrix, no? Array 0, array 1. So, or index 0, index 1. So the value member that it is going to display should be this one, country ID. But that the value that is going to be displayed, which is display member, it is that index 1. Okay, it's column 1. So now if you're going to run your program, so yeah, there you are. You can have Philippines, China, Canada, USA. Okay, so now that we are good to go, so mag-add na ta, perform na ta groups. So let's do it. Pero let's go back here na. So CBO gender that. Say we don't have values for that. This is not good, huh? This is not this is not okay. One that I'm doing, male, female is in the book. Okay lang kasi ang gender, there are, I know kasi nanay daghang value, no? And we don't know, it keeps on mag-add siya na LGBTQ, na trans woman, na trans or something like that. So still, gender is not, cannot be considered as stagnant dapat yung value to male and female. So it should be naka-table siya. But again, for the purpose lang na we are able to accomplish this learning outcome that we propose, I propose, we have to do this one na. Okay, so this time we're gonna be needing another module. I mean, another method in our module. Okay, so we do that by creating another module method. So let's say we call this as public sub SQL manager. SQL manager. And let's have here by val SQL as string. So try and catch tayo. Let's have here finally. Copy paste this one. Here. And try. Error 124. This is SQL management. So happen. And try. Good. Okay. And then let's go to the try. So let's open our database. So SQL and SQL that open. And we have already closed. So this time we're going to be using SQL command. So SQL command. Is that what we have named? Yeah. So SQL command equals new. Okay, MySQL command. So then after that, by the way, sige, I'm going to put here is SQL command like that. So command text is equal to SQL, and then SQL command that command type. Remove command text. Yeah. We're not dealing with stored procedures. And SQL command that connection is equal to SQL call. And then SQL command execute and query. Yan. So as you can see, balik-balik ang SQL command. So the same with I saw this in Python. The same with what we can do there. You can actually group this one together. So you can use with SQL command instead of typing each every now and then. No? SQL command. So put it in the with lang or with with. So then remove SQL and just do that. Okay. And another one is you can actually do this SQL and then SQL on, and you can actually remove this one and this one. Okay. So but if you wish that this one is better, so you can actually follow this. Okay, so this time we are now going to perform cron. Insert, na naman tayo retrieve, insert, update, delete. Okay, so dali naman lang na. So we do this by going here. By the way, this one is the process of like once the query is passed through this SQL manager, Okay, in this specific connection, as it will be received as a text, and after that it will be converted as a command. Okay, so from text to command, and then it will be executed as a query. Okay, so this time let's go here, and then okay, so right here, let's now perform query. So let's have a dim. Dim is one way of declaring date variable in HDB.net. So dim, let's say str query. So let's have here str query equals, so insert into PBL person values. Okay, so naay different ways on how to do this. Katong pwede ka atong add something, but this time, let's do this same sa atong ginabuhat before na mag-insert tag record. Diba kung mag-insert tag record, invoking it into our command, we do insert into DBL person values. Then, this is simple. Where do you want to get the data from? So, by the way, before I proceed, if your data or data type is integer in the database, no, you will only need this one, double quotation. But if it is a string or like varchar, okay, it should be enclosed with this delimiter. One single quotation, double quotation, and then single quotation. So dapat na. Pag string anything na string and varchar. So insert TBL person values. Now, since let's look into the person there, so structure. So I in varchar in. So mostly in. Okay, so we do that here. First is, so this one, integer. So we have here. Then, by the way, this and is the ampersand. It means that we are going to take that value from, kasi we are going to concatenate the value from where, and that instead of the actual value that you are actual value ang ibutang nato dira, it's coming from the text field. So let's have here txt id.text. Yan. And then comma. Okay. So since the next one is varchar name gender, so let's have that one. So delimiters na to would be single, double, single, and then ampersands, and then we'll have here txt name. Okay, that text. All right, so let's continue. The next one is CBO gender. So let's have here CBO gender that get or selected item. Okay. And, and the last two is person age, person age, and country ID. So all are integer values. So integer value. So let's put it here. Ext age text, and then we'll have here. Pwede nyo na siya ibaba, and then you'll have your CBO country at selected value. Selected value ang video natin. Okay. So I'm going to put this in the message box in order for us to see and know that the result of this one is actually the one that we are typing in the command in the CLI. Okay, so it will not save yet or store there and store in our database yet. So let's say we have here 103 marked, gender male, age 20, Philippines, and save. So insert into TBL person values. So it gets the 103, then mark with single quotation, male with single quotation, then 20, and then 1. 1 is the ID number of Philippines, because that is what is expected to be stored in the data in our database. Okay, so it seems like our code is okay. All right, so this time we're going to call SQL Manager. Okay. So just have to put str query and then call display records. So tawagon lang ito nimong display records. This one, or you can actually put it there. Parang, I mean, after this one, you can actually put here the query or here. Just call another one. Okay. Or you can create actually a method. So public sub SQL process, and then SQL process, something like that. So, okay. All right, so this time, let's run the program and let's see. Let's put here message box that show record successfully saved. Okay, so 334 na. So 103 March 20 Philippines save. Okay, there you are. 103 mark is saved or stored in our database. Let's check over there kung naa ba siya in the person. There you are. Mark is successfully stored. Okay, so that's for insert. Let's go and proceed with delete. So I update. Let's go CP or gender that selected index. It will have default value a default value of male. Okay, so let's now go to and proceed tayo with the update. So with the update first is syempre after we update, since we update based on the person ID, we'll have to make sure that we are actually when we in short panginanin lang, and when we click this one dapat mag-display dire ang data, and then when we click update, sa whatever is the change or altered data here will be stored over here. Okay. So how do we do that? First is we click this one. Okay, or actually double click, and then DG person cell content click, that is not the one. You look for cell click. Pwede na siya pero much better ang cell click. Okay, so cell click ta and then remove this one. Or you will not be confused. This is the event whenever we click a certain cell. Okay, and then after that we get the row. No? So E that row. So this E right here is coming from the data grid cell. Whenever you click a certain cell, it is going to give you the integer value. So when in order for you to, let's say, tanaw na to so when I click a certain data cell, okay, that's the entire record of area star is actually index 0. The entire record of Cardo is actually index 1. And the entire record of my name is actually the index 2. If whenever I click this one, it's still 0. Or this one, still 1. So that is the idea of row index. So muna itong tubagon. Okay? So this time, we're going to use with DG person. What it will display in the ID is, Okay, is the value coming or the item coming from. So let's say we have here. So we have ID. So person ID. Okay, that uh, value. So this would mean that we get the item in the column person ID, and then what particular row, which is I. Okay, and in the same manner, if we want to get the same in the same row, we get the value person name. Pwede ni siya 0, 1, 2, 3, pero I would suggest you use the name of the column. Okay, the name of the column in your database. So we have your DXT name. This is what is this? It's gender. BO gender okay, text. Okay, and then DXT age is the text, and then let's have here CPO country that. Okay, and then after that one, oh yeah, I forgot. So this one is person name. This one is person gender. This one is person age. This one is country. Yun, country ID. Okay, so there you are. Let's click. So let's click this one. Okay, over there. Yan. So it changes na. Okay. Oops, wala nag-change na to ang country. So that okay, kahit niya i-join pa man nato siya. Sige, yan na lang, particular. So we'll change this one later. So for now, let's put this as text. Okay. All right, so that's it. Then it would be better if you change an ID. So the XT ID that enabled is false. And if possible, no, PTN save that enabled is false. So that only update and delete can be clicked or something like activated. Okay, so right after that, let's go to update. So str query equals update DBL person set. Okay, so set set person name equals, so same yapon yung tons. We have here the delimiter space, I mean delimiter single quotation, double quotation, and it have here the XT name, text, okay, and then comma. So what's next after that? Sorry, I have a short memory. Person gender, okay, then age. We have here person gender equals, okay, so delimiter pa rin, CPO, gender that selected text or text na lang, or items that selected item, okay, and then it while overlap one, this one, and this one, and then next is age. So the age is person age equals next age x gamma, and the last one is country. So country ID is equal to CBO country that selected value. So after that one, call the SQL process. This one. Yan siya. So SQL. Okay. So click. So let's change this card to the Lisa. So click update. Ayan. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry. Okay, I can revert it back. Actually, gituyo na to siya, pero joke lang. I never put where, so I'm so sorry for that because I was too excited. I just forgot to include where. So where person ID is also careful data, no? So it happens sometimes. So txt ID that text. So sorry. So yun, na-change na siya into tanan card to the list side. So change na lang. So let's change this to R4. Okay, and then let's change this to 21 and USA update. Okay, R2. Let's change this to theory. Say 19. Change to female and there, China. Sample lang. All right, so there you are. We're able to edit. And then, so that's it. We are now in the middle of learning 2 or learning outcome 2. And then lastly, delete. So in the delete, kanin delete na necessary. Pero let's just perform also this one kasi delete from TBL person. So again, di na siya necessary. I'm gonna explain it to you later on. Or actually, na-explain na ako sa inyo last time. Where person ID is equal to ID graphics. So then SQL. Okay. And let's try. So delete natin si Cardo Dalisay. Delete. Automatic delete. So that's the idea of prod. No, sa search pala. By the way, delete is not necessary in every database. Ang ano lang delete scenario is when if ever na may mga disposal like let's say kana mga reservation. So reservation that does not involve money, especially in ANA. So like naamoy week na disposal period, kung wala siya nag-no-show, wala jud ni adto, so that would mean i-delete niyo sa inyong database para it will free some space. Pero if it involves money and which of course affects the sales and etc., you should never delete the record. That is why na ako dire na every time na ako'y database na yun active and inactive. So only those that are active na to siya, only those that are makita ang active, inactive, only those that are makita ang inactive. So instead of delete here, when they activate or deactivate or something like if it's active member or not. So we can, that is actually part of the business SQL. So I'm just going to run through. Actually, na-affiliate na ako na siya sa video discussion. I mean, sa video. Anyway, let's have the search. But you will not appreciate as parang what do you call this one? You will not appreciate search pag dalawa lang ang data. So let's change our database to DBMS vet. And let's have your DBL vet. Yeah. And then let's perform search. So search. So str query. So str query is equal to select from the EPL pet where, no, not where, dapat like. Okay, so like person, what do you want to search? ID, name. So ID is person ID. Select from people with like person ID like, sorry. Where person ID like, let's have here. And then let's have here. Okay, so we have your txt search that. Okay, and then let's call display records. Display records SQL, sorry, str query, and then DG person. Okay. Like no, not person ID kasi sa pet kasi ang pet nag-records. So sorry to, dirito siya. So nagka-problem ta kasi I'm using another table now. So let's say I want to oops. Like 101, sorry. Something is wrong with our query. Is it select from development pet ID like select from development where pet ID like it's the search that it's so check na ako sa error. Okay. Kasi wala siguro na open. Anyway, I'm gonna display records check manual 011 right syntax here from tbl pet where pet ID yeah, so 101 1004 so 1005, diba? Okay, mga search engine. Kung naka-where siya, exact. Pero kung wala siya kung naka-like siya, inana yan. So if you have like more records, pwede din mo na siya butangan or first, or let's say pet name equals, or sorry, pet name like, you can search name, you can search ID. So we have here txt search, yes. And here keyboard is so there, let's say I'm going to look for June. So there, Shady. So that's where you can use search method or search operation. So one more thing before I will stop my discussion. I have here kasi yung other one is siyempre the join, no? Pinaka-importante. As you can see, country ID is displayed. You don't do that to your users. The only that they see is the in your record is the meaningless record. Meaningless meaning what is this country ID means? Kung saan ng 4, saan ng 2. At least they're able to see the real name of the country. And of course, we We don't blame the database. We don't blame the program because that is how we set in our database. But of course, in our user, they don't have to know what's exactly what is happening exactly behind that code. And what they can only see is it's working, and the things that they are going to see are meaningful. So like country ID. So that's the time we do joining records. So here in STR query, I can have here STR query equals, so select. So if you want to view more, you can use this one. But if you want to individualize the one, pet ID, and also be that pet, no, not why pet, person, person that I pass, person ID, be that person name, and then be that person, what's that? Ito yung sunod, gender, be that person age, and then see that country name. Okay, so join, or sorry, from EBL person, join EBL country, country C, using, kasi pareha sila o ID. So let's have here country, I, ato ang primary key and foreign keys. As a clip to billion. And there, that is what you will put here. So STR. There. Oops. Open. So there you are. The country name that is displayed is now country name. So USA, China, something like that. So at least the user now has a better view of your data. Okay? So I've told you about, I don't know, ang presentado si Ria Gutierrez, Ria Gutierrez lang si, ano no, if you can use, if your query is like a little bit complex, you can actually create a view. But if this one is you are only joining two tables, there's no need of creating a view. But if you do that, you can actually create a view. So create view. This is for, let's say, view is a virtual table. No? So create view, let's say, person info as. So control enter. So automatic, this will generate view for you. So person info. So the one that is displayed here is this one. So this one will be, so instead of you do that in your query, you can just have like this query equals select from person ID. Okay, I'm sorry, person info. Okay, and then okay, so after that, when you run your program, you will see there as the view, not the join, blah, blah, blah. It's because you have created a view. All right, I'm done. So I'm done. And question?
Sir, may question ako about sa create view po, sir.
Yeah, sure.
Like, automatically na siya ang mag-join sa data po?
Depending on what you written there, or what you wrote there. Sorry, the grammar. Depending on what you wrote there in your view, that's what it is going to be followed.
Okay po,
Okay.
sir. So, parang mag-follow din siya sa, for example, you've assigned primary keys as foreign keys. So, parang i-follow niya na rin pag-create niya ng view?
Yes. Usually view is just used for projecting a complex data, especially if you have a lot of tables to be joined, and so that you don't want, you don't have to type it, like to query it right here. You rather create a view instead of doing it here, and then call that view instead. And then whenever what SQL queries that either if it is having, it will have um, increment or some increment, it will have anything, basta anything, as long as it is a correct query, that is what it is going to view. So that is what it is going to be projected in your database. So in fact, that is what it will add up there as a view. Actually, this one is leading into advanced database na. I don't know if you have advanced database, but advanced database, mas kani siya, ano lang ni siya, this is just a snacks. No, kana to gibuhat kami stacks lang ni like up to join, stacks lang na siya. Ang main dish, main ano jud niya, dish or yung main menu is katong advanced database, which is katong trigger, stored procedure. So that's the time you can actually kato siya mas gwapo to ang query na to mas efficient. Kasi views are believed to be not efficient. Pero for now, you can stick to that one. Actually, you can. I don't know if you have database, so I haven't reviewed your what they call this one, your curriculum yet.
Wala pa po, sir.
I mean, in the future, baka ang IS meron. I don't know. If ever sana sa CS na, kasi challenging, mas nice ang CS would have learned stored procedure, kasi that is what the industry, especially kung you really pursue parang pursue database administration, yun yung mas nice. This one is just basic lang.
I see.
Pero
Thank you
did I answer your question?
Yes po, sir.
Okay, sige.
Thank you,
Yes,
sir.
Welcome. Yes, James.
I have a question, sir.
Apo.
Regards for the final project, sir, is that for individual or group by group?
Since we started with individual na siya. By the way, sa last ninyo di ba katong deliverable 10 natin is i-apply na ninyo, di ba? So I will not gonna be asking for more. What you will do is just choose one table in your database and then just perform this one. Perform CROD. Kato lang. You just have to perform CROD one. Perform CROD one in any of your table. If you want 2 or 3 tables, depende sa inyo. But I'm going to only require you one table. So at least one table. Okay, so one table lang siya na CRUD. It's up to you if you use Java, if you use Python. Actually, I have codes also for Java and Python. I will try to put it in a DB Ultra if I still have time, mag-record ko. And sa PHP, I'll try to look for it kung naapa ba. Ang pinakadali kasi C# or .NET kasi drag and drop. Ang Java, drag and drop ang po. Then with Python, kasi you will need katong UI niya na component, medyo I don't know if you know how to do UI. So, kani kasi pinakadali na UI development. You can choose any language, ha? You can use Flutter. You can use whatever language you want.
Sir, mag-post ba ka ng PDF, sir, para pag-guide po daw sa bana?
Sa daw to? A guide, ani?
Oh?
Okay. I have a guide, but it's not naka-module. Naka-class siya, okay lang. Naka-class siya. Kuha lang siya. Pareha lang siya, pero naka-class lang siya. Dili siya module.
Magamit na siya sa Java yapon, sir, no? Dili yapon.
Yes, exact. I have also code for Java. Naka-step by step to, pero dili lang siya inana ka comprehensive. Medyo kuan lang siya na i-type niyo and then wala kayo siya explanation. Would that be okay?
Kamo guys, okay ra sa inyo, ha?
Sige, I will try to do it after this. Kanang naa siya step by step. Sige. Pero I cannot promise that it is as much as descriptive sa instruction na ginabuhat na po. in invoking SQL. No?
How about ano na lang? How about i-message na lang si sir if hindi mag-gets? Kay I think baka mahasol si sir.
I think pwede.
Pwede. Pero so far, as of this time, what language do you want or you prefer to use? As for now, sa inyo pang yung decision. Kasi dapat multilingual manggod mo, no? Multilingual, you can do this, you can do that. But, sige lang.
I think depende lang kayo magpili na anong klaseng program for the final project.
Yes, kayo magpili. It's up to you. Basta, again, one table lang. You don't do more. Kamu na bahala. Kasi na ibang estudyante sa inyo na I only require for this, but you exceed more. No? And it's human nature kasi na ang full time siya. Nandiyo siya time in the world to do it. It's up to you. I only require one table. Mag-perform crude. Okay? Then, how do you do that? Ano lang yung screenshot lang ninyo that only yung query, yung code, and then only yung UI. Just present it to me that this is the evidence that you have created. As an evidence that you created it. Tapos, yun, wala ng formative assessments for this week. As in, you are going to focus now in your, tawag na. Actually, I know for sure this IM is too compressed. Actually, ang IM for the in other school, I tell you this, no, it's only from ano lang jo, pure pure ERD tapos gamay na query. But in the IM, that when I see it, parang ERD development, kasi ERD is really, it will really take time na ma-absorb for sure. Dakan pa kayo na-encounter. Kasi dakan pa like generalization, specialization, advanced ERD mo delay, kato mga dapat kayo sa ulo siya studyhan. And that is what we are expected to, especially pag tagto na ng mga data ang ato ang dako na company, enterprise na jud siya, dili siya kana pang-pero lang, something like that. And then, yeah, so inato, no, that's why I am really amazed how you were able to cope up our lessons. Yes, daghan og question. Sige, start ta kay Adrian. Adrian.
Ay sir, okay na natubag na ni kaniya sir. Ara ko na bababa ni. Question
sige.
na niya sir. Okay na sir.
Okay. Neil, isa ni siya si Neil. Salamat guys sa pag-anya. Yes, Neil. Wala si Neil mo niya na lang. Yes, Ria Gutierrez.
Sir, good afternoon. Nag-speak kasi kayo regarding sa week 10. Alin po doon yung week 10, 101 or hindi, yung week 10 na love for 1 or yung join 1 pala or yung join 2?
What do you mean? Deliverable 10 I meant deliverable 10 na week. Dili siya
Okay, sir.
Yung deliverables natin kasi ang deliverables, it's the final requirement. Why I do it in a chunk? I hope you are able to like understand me. Anong isabay? Why I do it in a way na naka-chunk siya? Because as for experience, ihatag na akong ang submission ang project like or deliverables like now karon lang, then coming week na biya karon until next week, diba? So you will blame me for not giving it ahead of time. So that's why na ko siya and transition nato sa inana. Okay? And medyo I tell you compress jud kayo atong topics. Actually daghan pa og mga concepts sa database. And na importante kaysa sa kanina atong gibuhat karon. Again, these are just mga basic lang. Tapos With regards to your ERD, as I was reviewing it,
Oh.
napay ubad na wala na normalize, so wala lang po ni comment, pero ay basin madaot na po inyong query na i-invoke, so maluoy na po sa bata, no? For some like wala na follow ang normalization stages, napay naka-repeating groups, and then tawag ani many-to-many relationship, importante na ang many-to-many relationship dili siya allowed sa logical relationship or sa ERD. It is only allowed sa conceptual. Pero pag nanaga kay many-to-many relationship, sa ipuhaton, you'll have to make that association or relationship as an associative entity. Example, no, students enroll subject. Di ba many-to-many relationship ang student to subject? Kasi student can enroll one or more subject, and a subject can be enrolled by one or many students. So with that, katong enroll, mahimo na to siyang associative entity. Okay? So ang tawag ana sa uban is identifying entity or bridge entity for short. So mahimo siyang entity, and then dapat nandito ang imuhang foreign key from the two tables na subject and student, and then maghimo ka dito og either duha imong option, maghimo ka dito og what they call this one, surrogate key, or you will create composite key. Studyhin niyo na class, surrogate key or composite key, especially pag namoy many-to-many relationship. That's very important sa inyong database na inyong anang ma-apply. Kasi I tell you, pangit ang ERD, ang design sa database pag wala ninyo na na-resolve. So, katong mga many-to-many relationship ninyo i-resolve to. For example, student, subject, katong ingon ako many-to-many. So you'll create foreign key student ID dito sa enroll, and then subject ID dito sa enroll, and then probably mag-create kag enroll ID, date, and then or unit date, pwede date, and then yung grade ato pwede na, or you don't have to create surrogate key. Ang buhato nimo is composite key. So ang composite key is duha na ka primary key ang imong table. Usually minana mahitabo sa bridge table or bridge entity. Duha na ka po ang primary key, and we call it composite key. In fact, pwede pa na siya tulo upat ang primary key nimo. Pero I would not require you doing that. At least maabot lang mo duha or tulo. So nakoy napansin na ang mga ERD inato, pero again, I will just be clear, wala na lang nako siya kasi it's really difficult for me to do it in this type of sa masukay manggod siya pag I used to do it before kanang one-on-one job kanang individual, tapos isa-isa akong siya o gano'n. But with this situation that we are in, medyo I'm really having difficulty. So it's also a challenge for me. So I opted not to comment on your ERD na lang. Okay, so at least ang pinay po natin, ma-practice lang ninyo. Ma-practice ninyo siya, and then I hope next time you're able to modify or change your ERD based on the concept that we've learned. Yeah, sige, Janelle, you still have questions? Or
Yes po, sir.
yes, po.
Pwede if may mali ako, sir, mag-comment ka lang, sir. Thank you.
Okay, you want that? Yeah, it's okay.
Yes
It's
po,
okay.
sir.
Sige.
Ano rin po, sir, ano yung maging exam po? Is it the thing na gidiscuss natin right now?
No more examination na po. It's
Yung final project na po.
yung deliverable, I'll take from there, deliverables na. So doon ako mag-score. So no more formative assessment for this week, and also no more examination. It should, yun yung yung final requirement nyo, kasi that is the exhibition of what you have learned so far. But if again, I mean, everyone allow if in case na you don't want to, you don't know a certain SQL, just don't put it there. I mean, just don't include there na magpa-pressure pa ka. So only those na kaya ni bubuhaton sa inyong database. Okay?
Okay po, sir. And then how about yung deliverables 7 until mga 9 po, sir? I-submit pa rin yun sila.
I'm sorry, no, honestly, medyo ano na siya sa ako ang memory. Kung sa ganito, mga deliverables na to ato,
Ay, sa 7 po, sir, merong 7.1 till 7.5, which are data definition language, data dictionary, data manipulation language, simple queries, and then complex queries po.
I see.
Tapos, 8, 9, 10 is advanced SQL joins and views, then project prototype, and then finally is yung application development po, sir.
Yeah, so that's what my what is your question about it, Janelle?
Like, i-submit pa po ba yung 7 until 9?
Yes po. Wait ha. Allow me. Ito ba
Okay
yun?
po.
Ito no, ito yun. Sige. Yes, because these deliverables are itong data dictionary. Once nakakreate na kayo ng ERD, magawa nyo naman ito, no? Diba? Describe naman lang. And then, itong DTL, syempre, with what yung based on your ERD, you perform every query on how did you create the table. So ito yung required commands, then optional lang siya, meaning you don't have to do it. Itong check unique default not null, optional lang. Yung mga naka-red, yun yung required po. So example, imuhang ano is inventory management, then kay product, kay brand ba or inventory, of course, the table itself. And then, just show there, screenshot ninyo kung saan nyo mag-create ng table sa product, mag-create sa employee, mag-create sa staff, may mga staff, and then you do alter, draft, run, can just be creative on how you will apply this. No? So, i-apply na to ninyo tanan inyong mga na-learn from day 1 to day 1 until today. So data dictionary will be more on describe naman lang yan siya, show fields. And then for DML, at least 5 SQL statements of each per table. So 5 ka-insert. Sige, pwede na lang siya 3, no? For the record, pwede 3 or 2, sige, go ahead. Okay, 2 for each of the table sa insert, update, delete, and select. So then pag check na ko, yun na lang yun, 2. For the record, i-note ko dito 2 per table sa 7.3. So i-check ko lang yan if that is tawag present, and then i-count ko lang yung mga queries niyo on how many. Then that will serve as your score. Okay, then for simple queries, sige, at least 1 na lang dito, no? At least 1. Okay, you don't have to have 2 or each. Kani siya, not each table man din siya. So okay lang na siya 2, no? So not each table man. So meaning you are just going to choose any of your table and then perform insert into select, 2. Perform mag-min ka to any of your table, 2. Max ka to any of the table, not per table. Kasi not per table man nakalagay. Yeah, it's not per table. And then for complex queries, these are discussed week 8 pa. Week 8 yata, week 9. So these are using itong aggregate functions na you do nested queries. And then for joins and views, so itong 5, instead of 5, okay, 3. Pero 5 na lang kasi any of the table man siya. So dili man siya all tables. So left join, right join, inner join, and views. And then for prototype, syempre you are going to create app dev naman, di ba? Mag-iwan-wani kaniya akong i-introduce karon. So your prototype would be, yun, ito na siya. Ito na yung prototype ninyo. Ito na, this is your prototype. You just print screen this one and put it in your project. And then after that, sa app development, supposed to be kasi, you're going to present it individually, like to me or to the class. Pero we cannot do it anymore. Okay? So what I want you to do for app for 10, again, this is for the record, everyone, please disseminate. Sa app development, you're just going to screenshot your paki-screenshot na lang nito lahat itong this one, screenshot mo ito. Okay, so wala ko ipakialam if you are going to copy this one. Okay, as is na ni siya, this can be applied to any database, this can be applied to any table, any database na ni siya class, as in this is like an API na that you will use. And wala ni siya patent, wala na akong higi patent, so copyrighted. So you can copy, you can take this one from me. Okay, and if you want to include more of like codes, namoy butang na codes ka mo, it's up to you. And then after that, this one, pag-insert, pag-update, pag-save, pag-click. So show lang ninyo. And that is the only thing we can do for now. Okay?
Saan po siya i-submit, sir?
Doon pa rin sa folder ninyo. Diba you
Okay po, sir.
You have individual folder. Actually, check, sige lang, mag-provide ko mga inyong chronicles or inyong milestones kung sa mga kulang ninyo. Anyway, incomplete lang man mo kung INC lang man ako ibutang if ever incomplete. No? INC lang siya. And you can still parang comply it for the next one term na po. Ay, ito siya. So far, daghan naman naghimo og ang katong wala dire ako tong ipang chat naman no. Next boy, ana naman ka. Di ba hapit lang inahuman?
Yes po, sir. Thank you, sir.
Welcome, sige. And yun. So ito yung mga guide lang on how you will be graded. Checklist. So of course you don't matter this much or that much. Okay, as long as ma-comply ninyo ni and this will follow naman. Okay? And of course, related naman yan siya. Table creation, relation and cardinalities, also forms there. No? So dapat meron talaga kayong prototype or road operations. Yes, someone is asking. Yes, Adrian, Ranara, Janelle, are we good?
Sorry, sir. Yes po. We're good po, sir.
Okay po, welcome. Adrian, yes,
Sir,
Adrian.
katong sa final output, good sir, pwede mo maghimog ka ng isa murag bago na database ka na pa-simple ra namo or kailangan dyan pili sa among nahimo na?
Kato inyong, di ba, naghimo naman mo. Kato na inyong project, katong i-start ninyo, katong i-submit, paano ito yung bukatan?
Ito sa deliverable one, sir, no?
Katong imuhang ibuhat, kato yung i-submit ko dire. Kani. Let's say. Mao na to siya. Mao na ni siya tanan.
So kato mong i-base, sir, para sa
Yes.
deliverable 10.
Yes po, all throughout from there. Actually, ki-chunk lang nako na siya. Ki-chunk na ko siya para syempre daw para dili kay siya ingon na kung if imagine you do it for 1 week. Medyo uy kayo mo, no, di ba? Imagine you do it for 1 week. So anam gi-chunk lang nako. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Welcome. Yeah. Sige, John Raves Ranara.
Hello sir, kung naagod may murag na mali sa sir, deliverables 1 to 6. Pwede na mo murag i-correct siya sa 7 to 10 na sir. Sa mong pagbuhat na sa pag-code na mo sir.
Wouldn't you want to correct it right now?
Napasa naman to sir itong 1 to 6. So pwede naman siya i-correct sa
Pwede. Much better if correct po nimo. Anyway, nakasync pa na. Anything na changes imo ibutang dire mas change po na siya. Ako lang man tong ibang XX dito kung sa mga ano ninyo. But then again, I told you earlier na itong mga minimal errors, especially sa ERD, wala na kayo na okay. I opted not to correct it anymore. So, but according to Janelle, much better makabago siya sa palit. So, don't tell me kamutanan.
Ano daw, sir?
Makorek to yung mga, I mean, if ever na improvement sa imong iwato.
Okay po, sir.
Sige. Yes, John Raves, it serves you right. You can still correct it in the remaining deliverables. If possible, para all smooth yung dagan sa imong project, much better na ma-correct nimo itong previous. If you still can.
Okay sir, thank you sir.
Welcome. So, tabi no, dugaya na to, no? Dugay po itong tanawa nag-synchronous meeting, awan. Okay, sige. So, any thoughts, any insights?
So far, sir.
Sige. Well, before I'll end this one, thank you really guys, no? I hope we are able to meet soon sa face-to-face this coming February daw. I hope lang, I hope. And are you excited or gusto pa mo mag face-to-face?
I'm not sure, sir, kasi baka may tumaas kasi yung COVID.
Sa bagay, no? Your parents are like para same with Salvan, siyempre. Sige. So, parents pa rin ang ano. Anyway, I thank you for coming in and I really appreciated that you joined this sickness meeting. It's actually like we spent almost 3 hours. So, salamat sa pagstay, whether you're listening or not at all. But still, thank you. Yes, tapa si John Raves.
Sir, last lang sir, pwede, di ba pwede man ma-replay sir nga sync session?
Opo, naka-record ni siya. Yan, yata lang patay. Hadlo kung wala no. Naka-record. Sige, ibutang na ko siya sa BB Ultra para katong uban po is makaano po. Once okay na ang recording, no? Ibutang na ko sa BB Ultra. And
sige, sir.
then,
Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Sige. So, are we good? Okay na ta?
Yes,
Yes,
po.
sir.
For me, sir.
One more, any thoughts, any insights would like to share? One lang, at least one from you lang.
Aking sir, pag regards to face-to-face process pag sa February, pero unfortunately kasi because of the COVID, sorry, nag-mute pala, sino nag-mute.
Sige. Okay.
Pero hintayin mo ng announcement.
Yes. So blended learning man ihapon ta. Yeah. So probably di siya full na ano talaga implementation of face to face. Anyway, so sige. So thank you for staying until of this time. And have a great day ahead and keep safe always, mga little ones. And good luck to your journey. I hope you have learned so much from this course and you are able to apply it in your future endeavor. Okay? So have a great day ahead and thank you again. Bye-bye.
Have a great day, sir.
Ay, pagana sir, makailak ni sir.
Bye, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sorry, don't
Enjoy
worry,
po,
sir.
sir.
We will just
Okay.
remember.
Okay, charot. Sige, bye-bye.
Bye, sir.
Bye.
Bye, sir.